Hi everyone, I'm Rahul Kumar. Now, weather pattern including temperature, precipitation and extreme weather events are crucial factor for determining agriculture productivity and food security. So, changes in weather pattern can lead to crop failure, food shortage and price hike which have far-reaching impact on livelihoods of millions of people around the world. For example, drought and floods can destroy the crop leading to food security shortage and price spike, while extreme temperature can reduce the crop yield and quality. These impacts are particularly acute in developing countries where many people are dependent on agriculture for their livelihoods and may lack to access of alternative source of food or income. So, let's see what is food security. Food security is defined by the United Nations Committee on World Food Security, means all the people at all time have physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food that meets their food preferences and dietary needs for an active and healthy life. Second, food security is the combination of the following three elements. First is food availability. That is, food must be available in sufficient quantities and on a constant basis. It considers a stock and production in a given area and the capacity to bring up food from elsewhere through the trade and aid. Food access. That is, people must have able to regularly acquire adequate quantities of food through purchases, home production, barter, gifts, borrowing or food aid. Third, food utilization. That is, consumed food have a positive nutritional impact on people. It entails cooking, sortage and hygiene practices, individual health, water and sanitation, feeding and sharing practices within the household. Third, food security is closely related to household resource, disposable income and socio-economic status. It also is strongly interlinked with the other issues such as food prices, global environment change, water, energy and agriculture growth. So, now, importance of food security in a nation. How it is important. First is to boosting agriculture sector, having control of food prices, economic growth, job creation, leading poverty reduction, for trade opportunities, increase global security and stability, improved health and healthcare. So, why there is need to weather-proofing food security? Climate change is a crisis aggravators that threat multiplier for the most vulnerable amongst us. It impacts on food production, livelihood, and health is expected to push an additional 600 million people into food insecurity by 2080 and increase child malnutrition. About 80% of the global population most at risk from crop failure and hunger from climate change are Sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, and Southeast Asia, where the farming families are disproportionately poor and vulnerable. A severe drought caused by El Nino weather pattern and climate change can push the millions of people into poverty. So, let's look what are the impacts of weather on food security. First is crop yield and production. Rising temperature, changing precipitation patterns and extreme weather events such as droughts, floods and storms can have detrimental impact on crop yield. Heat waves and drought can reduce productivity and lead to crop failure, while excessive rainfall and floods can destroy crop and infrastructure. This disruption in agriculture production can result in decreased food availability and increased practices. Second is changing growing condition. Climate change alters the sustainability of certain regions of a specific crop. Shift in temperature and rainfall pattern may require farmer to adapt their practices or even switch to a different crop. This can lead to a disruption of food production and regional food imbalances. Third is livestock and fisheries. Rising temperature, changing precipitation pattern and ocean acidification affects the livestock of fish production. Heat stress can reduce livestock productivity and increase mortality rate, while changes in weather temperature and acidity can impact marine ecosystem and reduce fish populations. Fourth is food distribution and access. Climate change can disrupt the transportation and infrastructure, making it challenging to transport food from production areas to markets. Extreme weather events can damage roads, bridges, and ports, leading to delays in higher transportation costs. This disruption can limit the people's access to food, particularly in vulnerable regions or those heavily dependent on imported food. Fifth is price volatility. Change Climate change related disruption in agriculture production can lead to increased price volatility for food commodities. Crop failures, reduced yield and decreased supply can cause food prices into a spike, making it difficult for vulnerable population to afford an adequate diet. Sixth is land degradation and water scarcity. Climate change contributes to soil erosion, desertification, and degradation of arable land. Extreme weather events such as heavy rainfall and floods can wash away topsoil essential for agriculture and degrade soil fertility. So, why is containing food inflation is crucial? The food and beverages components in Indian Consumer Price Index has a weightage of 45.86%, the highest amongst G20 countries. Managing this component to around 4% is crucial for taming overall inflation. So, look challenges. First is monetary and fiscal policy challenges. These components of inflation cannot be managed only through monetary policy nor even by fiscal policy. The simple reason is that it is often triggers by external shock such as droughts and breakdown of supply chain. For instance, during the COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine conflict. El Nino effect. The borrowing El Nino is a looming danger in its feared that could cause a below normal rainfall, even a drought. So it is not good for our rainfall. Cereal inflation. Overall, the cereal and products inflation is still a very uncomfortable level. 13.7%. That is 13.7%. Rice inflation is the biggest Kharif season is rice, and rice inflation in April was 11.4%. Wheat inflation. Wheat is the most important Rabi crop and is still very high at 15.5%. Milk inflation. Inflation in this category in April was more than 8%, but since it is the highest weight amongst 29 commodities that comprises a CPI basket, it contributes to CPI inflation in April was almost 12%, the highest amongst all the commodities. Price inflation. Fodder price inflation has been a very high, between 20 to 30% in the recent month. It has further exaggerated by milk inflation. So, about El Nino. El Nino is a naturally occurring climate pattern associated with warming of the ocean surface temperature in a crucial of eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. It occurs on an average every 2 to 7 years, and episodes usually last 9 to 12 months. El Nino affects the sea surface temperature in the Pacific Ocean, which can weaken the monsoon or trade winds and decrease rainfall over India, but a positive Indian Ocean dipole can offset this effect. So, what should be the way forward? First is use the buffer stocking policy more proactively. The rice stocks with the Food Corporation of India (FCI) are more than 3 times the buffer stock norms for rice. If the government wants to tame the rice price inflation, it can upload the rice from the central pool and open market operation and easily bring down the rice inflation around 4%. The wheat procurement has been sufficiently good to meet the requirement of public distribution system and gives some room for open market operation. Second is lower import duties on fat. The policy instrument to use the lower import duties on fat, which are currently at 40% of skimmed milk powder, which is at 60%. Indian price of skimmed milk powder and fat are much higher than the global prices, and therefore by reducing import duties to say 10 to 15%, there would be some imports of fat and SMPs that could help to reining milk and milk product prices. Third is address the challenges of fodder price inflation. The cultivation of fodder crop must be promoted although through subsidy and incentive programs. It can also address through incentives like adopting suitable crop combination and developing fodder bank. Fourth is be prepared for drought. Through the IMD is yet to forecast about the impact of El Nino, but prevention is always better than cure. Policy intervention like introducing drought-tolerant crop varieties, expanding irrigation, restricting rice import, strong and distributing grains, expanding social productions coverage can help to reduce the impact of climate change. So if you want to download this PDF, please check in the description below. And thanks for watching friends. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like and comment.